My name is Patrick Dougherty. I'm a sculptor. I live in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. I try very hard to fit the piece to the site itself, so I spend quite a bit of energy, as I'm doing today, out looking at my site and trying to figure out, what I could make and what would feel like, be sympathetic with the site. Generally, when I first come to a space, you try to focus on how people are going to see it, where they're going to start seeing it from. Are they going to get around behind it, or is it a one-sided piece, or must it be viewed in 360 degrees, in which every single element along the way of their viewing has to have an important focal point. Oftentimes I've been making pieces that people can walk into, and so this will probably be of that kind. It's cold today. It's the middle of September. It's a kind of situation that it's 82 in North Carolina where I live, so this is a real shock for me. My son, who's my assistant now, we arrived on Monday, and then we started gathering. We've been gathering along the river in a nearby place, and we brought all the material over here, and now we're starting to figure out what we're doing with it. We've got a footprint that's kind of a 20-foot interior courtyard surrounded by a kind of a double wall, which is going to encapsulate 10 little cabanas, some kind of little hidey holes, place to get in there and look around. You'll be able to walk around the interior of that circle inside, and there's about 5 towers kind of shapes, and then 5 a little bit lower shapes that make up that outer ring. So I think it'll be really interesting and allow for you to viewer to go in and then go in further. You'll have a kind of a sheltered space inside in which will have a different kind of feeling than if you're out here in the park. The park itself is pretty even in terms of what it offers. It's got these Ponderosa pines. They're evenly spread. I was more concerned about the kind of experience the public might have, and so I was a bit thinking about just the practicalities. What scale would work? I noticed that Chris Drury's piece is kind of circling up. In other words, it's a kind of a focal point in a kind of an even landscape. And so that further promoted my ideas of thinking, maybe if we had an inner courtyard that divided you off from the general park itself for a minute, then it would be a different kind of experience in there, being a bit more intimate than this kind of open, wild space that we're in. Did find a very good patch of willow. They're calling it sandbar willow. The willow by the same name in Colorado is Apache willow. We found some alder and some very large willow to make our structural pieces out of. Generally, my process of building something has to do with working structurally first, and then applying a kind of aesthetic, a kind of a line drawing on the surface of that, and then doing the cosmetic work as a final bit of it. So today we have volunteers out here working, and yesterday we laid out the footprint of it, and we put some upright structural pieces. The next part of it was to use the scaffolding that we set around it as an exoskeleton, and then pull the shape that we're hoping for. And so in this case it meant squashing some of the sticks together to make these long kind of pinnacle tower shapes, and then pressing some of them down. We're using string at the moment, but all that string gets removed as we move along. Yes, you're here in the park, and it's week 2. We're about to get going on final finish, and we're moving along. We've had a bit of weather this week, and a little bit of ice and some bits of snow, and it's been a big effect on us as we're running out of material. So we're been gathering the last 2 mornings. We've had a couple people out looking for materials, and so that's going to have to, by tomorrow we're going to have to make a big push and take our whole crew out and start gathering again, because it's apparent to me that it's going to take a lot of material, but for my sponsors, they often get tired of gathering too soon, and so we have to go back. But at least people know why we need it now. Most jobs are about problem solving, and certainly sculpture is just a problem-solving event in which your game is aesthetics and making things look beautiful and trying to intrigue the public. I don't really ever feel that I'm all that different than regular workers that are working at lots of other jobs, and it didn't seem like such a big leap for me to become a maker of a different sort. We're just about to get finished. We're going to have a declaration of being complete. We've got a nice title. It's called the Tree Circus, and so with the idea of circularity being as circus as well, and the fact that the thing has its own gyrations and aerial acrobatics that go with it. So we're hoping that that will be an adequate title for everybody. So I think it'll last a long time. I think they'll get quite a bit of use out of it. A little bit of maintenance has to go on, in the sense that kids pull things out around the doors and windows. But I think still in all, we have seen a lot of respect in this community in general. So I would think this thing will last a long time.